let's talk about the most underrated roller coaster that I have ridden. This is going to be my thoughts and review of Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great Adventure. Now, I think I'm going to put it out there. This is the best clone ride in the world. I've been on quite a few clone rides, actually. I've been on a Boomerang, I've been on an SLC, I've been on a Spinning Wild Mouse model, which they have everywhere. And I think this is the best out of all the clones that I've ridden. This coaster, seriously, is really often overlooked. I think it's honestly overlooked because it's everywhere. And people kind of tend to forget about Batman the Ride. But I do think it stands up pretty well compared to some other inverts, including two that I've ridden, which I'll talk about that sort of comparison later. But let's get right into this. So we're going to start with some stats and everything. The height isn't very impressive. It's only around 100 feet tall, and the speed is just 50 miles per hour. So it's not impressive in terms of stats, and it's not very long. The ride from drop to brakes is about 45 seconds. So, it's not anything to shout at, guys. It's not the longest coaster in existence, but it's not exactly the shortest coaster in existence either. So, I don't really know where to stand on this coaster. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue to love it, or I'm not sure if it's going to fall once I ride more coasters. But this is definitely up there for a top 5 for being the most intense coaster that I've ridden. This thing is ridiculously intense. So head down the first drop and you go through that first vertical loop. Oh my gosh, I think that is the best vertical loop that I've experienced. You're sitting in the back row, you get all sorts of pull going through the second half of this thing. It is nuts, the amount of G-force and speed you pick up. Then you go through the 0G roll, which this is really the only part of the ride that I kind of didn't like as much as the rest of it. It wasn't a bad 0G roll. It was I think Bizarro's in the same park might have been better. Sorry about that. But it's not a bad 0G roll, not a very good one either. So, and that's really all I have to say about that. And you go through the second vertical loop, which again, it's not as strong as the first one, but it still pulls. The amount of force you get whipped over this thing in the back row is ridiculous. And you're gonna kind of meander around a little bit. And a lot of these sections where you're meandering are freaking forceful as heck. You feel so much numbness in your legs. And that one turn right before you turn around and go into the first flat spin, I was graying out on that turn. We were barely moving. We were going, I would say, maybe 30 miles an hour. I don't know. That's just a guesstimation. But guys, this whole second half of the ride was just an utter mess of intensity and whippiness. That turn was so intense. I don't know why I grayed out on a turn that was meandering. That was insane. Then we go through this flat spin. And once again, I think that might be the best corkscrew that I've experienced. Other than Kumba and Montu's corkscrew. Maybe Kraken's might be on up top there. But this thing was nuts. Then we went around a few more turns in Helixus. And again, my feet were numb. I was graying out. Then we went through this final corkscrew, which again, that thing was so whippy and intense. And it was ridiculous how much we got pulled through it in the back row. Then we turn around and we come up and we hit the brakes. So the whole second half, the first half was good. The drop, okay. The only parts that truly underwhelmed me were the drop and the 0G roll. Other than that, this thing was breakneck intensity the entire way through. I cannot stress that enough. I don't know. This might be the most intense coaster that I've ridden. That might sound insane, because I've ridden coasters like El Toro, Lightning Rod, Kumba, Montu, Mind Blower, which is really intense. This is up there. This thing is nuts. I don't understand how this coaster is so overlooked. Maybe I got an incredibly good ride on it, or maybe I'm just a freak for Batman clones. I don't know what the heck it was, but I'm in love with Batman the Ride. It is breakneck intensity the entire way through. I didn't even feel a rattle on this ride. I think this coaster was smoother than the way Mako ran 2 days ago. Seriously. This thing is butter smooth. You only really get headbanging during the corkscrew, and that was fine. A little bit of headbanging for me in one inversion, as long as it's whippy, as long as it's not 100% painful, I'm fine with a little bit of headbanging. That's why I love coasters like Kumba and Hulk so much. They're intense, but a little bit of headbanging doesn't hurt me. But this coaster is downright intense, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm overreacting to this coaster. Maybe I got a really good ride. It could have just been because I was hot and I was disoriented that day. I didn't really get much water in me that day. But this coaster, I think it is the second best coaster at Great Adventure. That might be a stretch right there. A lot of things that I say are a stretch, guys. Bear with me. Batman the Ride is going to be getting a 9.2 out of 10 for me. If the length were increased and maybe the drop were a little better and the 0G roll were executed a little bit better, this thing could be a top 5 coaster for me. If those 3 things were done a little bit better, maybe a little taller, faster, and like a little bit more whippy on the 0G roll and like a few more added elements, this thing could be in my top 5. I'm insane. I know. This coaster is truly an underrated gem at Six Flags Great Adventure. Let me know what you guys think about the Batman clones. Please feel free to bash me in the comment section. Stay tuned for more videos, and as always, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.